Check test 1 2. Hello, hello. Check test. I actually will be right back. Excuse me 1 second. Hurry, come on. Hurry up. Hurry up. Okay, I'm back. Hey, BE, Brian and Aaron. Great to have you in. Thanks for coming along. 5 by 5. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate that. And it's just 8 o'clock. I actually started a touch early. Had to go let the puppy in. Well, he's not a puppy, but anyway. So yeah, we got some great questions this week. Usually I'll just kind of dilly dally around here a little bit, waiting for a few more folks to come in. Tim Myers, great to have you in. I am well, doing lots of good here. I hope. Still in Arkansas. Dad is improving every day. He's not home yet, and I got to think it's going to be at least another week, maybe two, before he's home. Well, I hope it's not that long, but you know, it is what it is. So you just kind of have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. Oh, you're building drawers, yeah. So I think you made a comment. I watched BE Adventure Partners is building a schoolie. In fact, they're building it and living in it at the same time, which adds to the challenge. But it's still a good thing, right? It's turning out great. And you guys had commented that you had like you were 29 videos behind. Well, don't knock it because having content in the bag and ready to go is a good thing. Trust me. So, oh, Jason's here. Great. Great to have you in, Jason, and Michael McCluskey from Arizona. Um, yeah, Jason asked a great question, and that'll be our first subject for tonight. Of course, the idea is if you have a question, RV related, that you would like to ask and get an answer for, I'll try to help you out as best I can. And as always, if I don't know the answer, I will look her up and we'll talk about it next week. A little bit of housekeeping here. It looks like I'll probably be here for a couple more weeks. Two. Hopefully, I'm headed west again towards the end of the month. Um, but if you're in the Amana, Iowa area, Aaron, our moderator and a YouTube friend, certainly a good guy, mentioned that they're having a YouTube meetup at the RV park he is working at, the Amana RV Park. They're in Amana, Iowa, on this from the 6th to the 8th. So I know we have a few folks from that area out there in Iowa. You could probably run down there and say hi to Aaron. That'd be awesome. Aaron, I was looking and I had an opportunity. I was kind of going through some of my older videos, and 3 years ago, your first comment came in on one of my videos. It was on the $30,000 engine quandary. And since we're kind of just clearing house here a little bit, waiting for a few more people to come in. If you don't know, in 2017, I dropped a valve in my Cat 3126E, Brian and Aaron, and it destroyed the cylinder, it destroyed the head, it destroyed the turbo, and so basically I just ended up having to put a crate motor in. The crate motor was nice. It came from Cat. It's a Cat remanufactured. Uh, when everything was said and done, it was just under $30,000 to replace that engine, and it still hurts. You know, my wallet still hurts from that one, even 3 years later. But uh, the main problem was is that I think the people who had the RV before me didn't do a lot of maintenance. Well, I know they didn't because there's things that I've been Well, when I first got it, I spent a lot of time, getting it in, rolling condition. Um, but yeah, that was the first video that Aaron had ever commented on. Texas R1. Yeah, so many challenges. I just bought a new Grand Design fifth wheel. A friend suggested I immediately replace all the water lines with PEX. No, don't do it. That's a lot of work, and um, I'm not so sure that. I think they're using nylon in those anyway, which is all PEX is just nylon. So I wouldn't do it. That's a lot of work. 10, 15 years from now, I would consider it, but I sure wouldn't do it now. Yeah, that's a short, beep ton of work. Oh, Food Porn Chef is up in Pocatello. Normally where I'm at, and man, I wish I was in town because I'd sure come up and hang out and we'd drink a beer. Um, yeah, the fairgrounds is not bad, but I hear it's a little smoky out there. All the fires out to the west of Idaho are really causing some air quality problems. I guess it cleared up a little today. I was talking to my neighbor who's been taking care of my lawn for me, just to give him the bad news that he's got a couple more weeks to do it. But anyway, yeah, so um, that's great. I'm glad to hear you're out there. It's a great place. It's a good place to park and camp, and fairly inexpensive. Hello, Randy Waller from Iowa. He's out there in Des Moines. Great to have you in. Dana Lynch has a question here. I'll get to you in just a minute, Jason. The best treatment regime for a permanent fifth wheel with sewer hookup. We've been having smelly problems and I don't understand what's going on. Okay, well, Dana, here is the prescription for when you're static. I'm assuming it's probably a weekender, but when you're static, what I recommend you do is when you leave on Sunday, fill that holding tank as full of water as you can get it. Okay, add 1 cup of borax, a half a cup of Dawn dish soap, and let it soak for the week while you're gone. Then when you come back on Friday or whatever, pull the handle, dump that tank, start with 2 or 3 gallons of water, add a half a cup of borax, a half a cup of Dawn dish soap, and then use it for the weekend. When you're done, when you're leaving on Sunday or whatever, take a few minutes, dump it, flush it, and then repeat with the soak. A cup of borax, half a cup of Dawn dish soap, and just let it soak over the week. When you come up on Friday or the next time, pull that handle, flush that out. 2 or 3 treatments like that, and your tank sensors are going to start working again, and it should quit smelling. Now, if it starts to smell in the interim, just add a little bit more borax. A quarter to a half a cup is plenty, and it knocks the odor down right away. Do the same thing in your gray tank, except in your gray tank, use a good, strong, concentrated degreaser. I like the Zep orange cleaner. Simple purple, simple green are both great. Use the concentrated ones though, not to come. Use the 1 gallon jug that you would get like at Home Depot or from my Amazon store, using the link in the description below, where I'll get a very small commission, and you'll support the channel, which is also greatly appreciated. But that's a great way to do that for the static for your weekenders. Just let it soak for the week. Now, if it's cold or going to freeze, don't do it. Don't leave water in those tanks if it's going to freeze, because that will bust lines and create a heck of a mess for you. But yeah, during the summer like this, just leave it for the week while you're gone with water and the borax and the Dawn in it. It's not going to hurt it at all, and it will get that tank cleaned out. And again, it could take 2 or 3, maybe 4 cycles to get all the hardened poo, the poo pyramid, and everything out of it. So there you go. That is a great solution, and I'm sure you'll find that it works perfect. Food Porn Chef, look at the Juniper Campground near Ryrie, Idaho. He says he was, it's hazy all day for the past week and looking for my next place to go and enjoy. The Juniper Campground is great. It's also inexpensive, and it'll put you up there on the South Fork of the Snake River. I highly recommend you go over to Heisey Hot Springs for the day. Go up into Swan Valley. It's beautiful up in there. and you're only 20 minutes from Swan Valley. You're about 10 minutes from High Sea, and I think you'll really enjoy it out there at the Juniper Campground. If you're looking to do some boondocking, then I would recommend Birch Creek. Birch Creek is you go north on 15 to towards Mud Lake. You'll take the Mud Lake exit and cut across there. I think that's Idaho 33. And Birch Creek's up there another, probably 35, 40 miles from the interstate. But that's also a great place. But be warned, the cell coverage up there is minimal. So there's a couple ideas for you. Dana, I have a video, as a matter of fact, maybe you haven't seen the video called how to eliminate black tank, how to get your black tank to stop smelling. I can't remember the title of it. I'm tired. But if you just look on my channel and go to the playlist RV How To, you'll find it in that playlist. Watch that video because it's going to tell you why that tank is stinking. And what it is a modification of the Geo method that eliminates the bleach and replaces bleach with the borax. And I won't go into all the science and everything of the video. It's all described in the video, and I think you'll find it very enjoyable to watch. It's quite popular. It's got like 750,000 views and thousands of comments. Not one comment, by the way, that says it doesn't work. So the Geo method is effective. I just didn't personally care for the bleach. That's why I've learned to substitute the borax. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate that. Yeah, I got that one, Aaron. Tim Myers, probably taking a trip to Forest City in the next year or so. Great. Texas R1 loves the borax video. Just saw it this week. Yeah, it's a good one. If I do say so myself, don't hurt yourself patting yourself on the back, right? Yeah, so if you like what you're seeing, be sure and give me that thumbs up. Those are really helpful because then YouTube will suggest the video to more people. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're not subscribed, ring the notification bell. Lots of content to come. As soon as I get back to Idaho and I get back to where all my content is so I can go back to producing videos, then I've got 4 that are about done, working more on paint and cleanup, and there's some other things. Just a quick comment, those watching the video, I keep noticing a little flash of like white. And if you're noticing that in the video, drop me a comment over there just so I know what's going on. I'm still experimenting with this setup that I've got going on here. I switched over and I'm using my GoPro again because it's a little better quality camera. Plus, I was noticing that when I would lean on the table, because I was using the camera on my laptop, it would bounce back and forth. And that was really annoying to me. I'm sure it was to you too. Okay, going back to catch up. You're very welcome, Dana. Tom Jones. It's not unusual to be, I bet you have sick of that. My mom was a huge Tom Jones fan. Reidsville, North Carolina. Beautiful country out there. Julie Gage is in the house, enjoying the cool weather in Agri, Michigan. Hi, Julie. Great to have you in. Thanks, Brian and Aaron. Okay, great question, Michael. On your seals, only use pure silicone spray. I prefer CRC. Okay, they all have a little bit of petroleum product in it as propellant and those sorts of things. But the CRC is the best high concentration of silicone. That silicone will replace the oils in your gaskets and keep them from getting hard. So what I recommend on that is to take care of your gaskets, get yourself a microfiber towel, and then spray the silicone on your gaskets and leave it stand for a minute, because it will, or gaskets, I say gaskets, but seals are the same thing in this old brain. And you watch for that silicone spray to be absorbed into the rubber. If it gets absorbed really fast, spray it again. Then once it's kind of quit absorbing, just go back with that microfiber and just wipe that seal down. Do it on your door seals. And by the way, you could do this on your car or your pickup door seals as well, and it keeps them nice and pliable and soft. And you can use the CRC silicone spray in your window tracks. Okay, so if you, like in most RVs, you have sliding windows, spray those window tracks down with the CRC. That'll keep them nice and moving freely. But I swear by the CRC, not sponsored. I wish they would sponsor me because I love their products. Also, the liquid wrench silicone is very good as well. So there's a couple options. If you can't find the CRC, the liquid wrench silicone, which, by the way, if you have a Harbor Freight available, Harbor Freight has the liquid wrench. CRC you can usually find in like O'Reilly's or AutoZone, those kinds of places, or get it on my Amazon store and support the channel. um, I don't use a slide out cover. Well, I should say I have the roll up retractable covers that are over my slide outs, if that's what you're asking me for. And yes, I have those and I use those. And those are fairly inexpensive to purchase and install. They'll keep the roof of that slide out cooler. It's a good thing. And also keep it off away from the sun. Okay, I'm going to run over and Jason Mills asked me a great question. Let me run over to Facebook Messenger where he mentioned that. And so he says, so my wife wants a Splendide combo washer dryer vented. I have a good spot in mind in the rear corner of the camper on a wall sharing the outside shower. That gives me great access to the water lines and a plug outlet. Could I please give a short brief on how I should plumb the drain? Pipe size or hose size, best way to tap into gray water tank, whether by inserting a T-connector or is there a way to connect it to my sewer slinky? Well, Jason, that's a great question. And first off, let me just say this. Plumbing in an RV is not any different than the plumbing in your house. So for a washing machine like that, you probably want to use at a minimum 1.5 inch, preferably 2-inch PVC drain lines. You want to make sure that you have a P-trap in it. So you want to have a P-trap in it because otherwise you're going to get the odors coming out of your gray tank. Then find a convenient spot and tee in to a drain line that's going to your gray tank. So that's really all there is to it. Keep in mind that you want to pitch that pipe a little bit. So the pipe you want that pipe to be on an angle. 1/4 inch for every foot is usually more than enough. But I can't overemphasize the P-trap. And also keep in mind that you probably want to install a vent. Okay? So you probably want to vent that to prevent any problems with that line draining. And again, it's just like home plumbing. There's nothing really special about plumbing in an RV, at least on the drain side. You can use black ABS, white PVC, whichever you prefer. But I would recommend that you tee into a line that goes to your gray tank versus trying to connect it into your, your drain line, your hose slinky. So hopefully that helps. And let us know how it turns out. All right, let me go back to the online chat. Again, if you're just coming in, be sure and drop your question over in the chat window, and we'll get to you as soon as we can. So Timothy Garrison says, I have a 24-foot Flagstaff fifth wheel ordered. Ordered it with the Lippert auto leveling system. Is this a waste of money on or not on a small unit? I can still delete from the order. Yeah, the Lippert auto level is super handy. And I would say, yeah, I don't think it's a waste of money. I'm assuming it's a 4-point leveling system. Most fifth wheels do have a 4-point type leveling system. And so, yeah, I think that you're probably going to like it. Most Class C's and Class A's have some kind of leveling system. And a lot of Class A's will use the Lippert. Or HWH, which, by the way, Lippert bought about 6 years ago, something like that, I think. Yeah, it was about 6 years ago. So HWH was really big, and a lot of Class A's use it, but now it's Lippert components. And yeah, I think they're super handy. And you know, unless it's $5,000, I would probably go ahead and keep it. Plus, I think it's going to add a little bit to the resale value. So at some point down the road, you decide to sell it. That might be a nice little additional selling point for the rig. So I hope that helps, Timothy. Thanks, Brian and Aaron, BE Adventure Partners. Anybody in the stream, go over and check out their channel. They're great, fun kids, and doing some good work on their bus. It's great to have you in tonight. Tim Meyer says, I've had 0 orders since I started using borax. It is a miracle, isn't it? It just works. Steve Linder from Lee's Summit, Missouri. Hi there, Lee. Steve. I'm not far from there. I am between Harrison and Bentonville, Arkansas, at my father's place. If folks are just tuning in, my father fell and broke his hip a month ago. He's still over in a rehab hospital learning how to walk again. But I'm at his house. I have a disabled brother, so I've been here taking care of that and cleaning the house and doing some painting and various other things. So yeah, Lee's Summit, Missouri. That's not far from here. I think it's maybe 50, 75, maybe 80 miles, something like that. It's close. Randy Waller says, by the way, Randy installed a 12-volt GE fridge in his RV, and he just wanted to let us know that it's awesome. It's so nice to have solid ice cream sandwiches. Yeah, man, I hear you. I hear what you're saying for sure. Plus, it's 12 volt, which is super efficient. So that's great. Thanks, Aaron, for posting that black tank video link. Hello, Groove Jet. Aaron, why did you moderate him? That's okay. He's fine. He's a good guy. He's on at 2 in the morning over there. Okay, thanks, Tim. Yeah, I'm just catching it in the monitor out of the corner of my eye, the little flash. So I apologize for that. Not sure what's going on. Just another challenge. Thanks, Texas R1. Yeah, not too bad. Lola Rausch. First time here. Great. Uh, Glad to have you, Lola. So she asks, when I turn the heat on, it makes a terrible loud sound, like the fan is going out. It does subside after a while. Do you have a link or a video on fixing this? I don't. I suspect that you might be the bearings in the fan might be going out, and that might be. I know that you can get replacement parts. I would need to know what kind of furnace it is and a bunch of other information um, to be able to help you with that one. But um, okay, great. So sorry, GrooveJet. Aaron, GrooveJet's fine guy. He's good. You don't have to moderate him. Yeah, I agree with Aaron. It sounds like your motor in the heater, the fan is about to go out. Where are you at right now where you need heat? Just curious, Lola. Everybody else is cooking. GrooveJet says, yeah, I agree with you. Tom Jones is not doing too bad for a guy in his 80s. So let's see here. Still catching up. Yes, Michael, it is. It's going to be in handy items for RV owners. So if you follow the link in the description for the video, you'll find a link out to my Amazon store, and then I think if you look in the handy items for RV owners section of the store, you're going to find it there. Otherwise, you can just, if you go into through my Amazon store, and then up in the search block, just type CRC silicone spray. I'll still get credit, very small amount, but I'll still get credit for your purchase, and I do appreciate you doing that. Thank you, Aaron. Jason, thank you so much. Your super chat is so greatly appreciated. I can't even tell you. Thanks again. I really do appreciate that. We're getting her sorted out, Groove Jet, so stand by. We'll get you on there. Tim Myers asked, do I use diesel additives in my DP? Only in the summer, or excuse me, only in the winter, very rarely in the summer. And I use Power Service, okay? And I use cetane booster in the winter. I also use the cetane booster for storage over winter. I also will add a little bit of algae preventer, algicide, when I'm storing it over the winter. And in the summer, probably every fifth tank, fourth tank, something like that, I'll add a little bit of the Power Service summer treatment. And it'll help keep your injectors clean and those sorts of things. Now, I know there's others out there that people just rave about, but I've been very happy using Power Service. I've used it for years and years. And I tend to I tend to recommend things that I use personally. Oh, thank you, Timothy. Thank you very much. Dennis Deemers has a question. He says, I have a 1988 Beaver. Do you know where I can find a plumbing schematic? Nowhere. Here's the deal with these dang RV manufacturers. They don't, and I've never understood this. Maybe somebody on the chat might, but I've never understood this. I've tried to get the schematics, the electrical schematics, the plumbing schematics for my RV, and Newmar, they just don't have them. And I don't know why. You would think in the day, in an older rig like yours and mine, I can see, but nowadays where everything is catted, you would think they would give you these schematics, show you where the pipe and plumbing and everything goes. But in the older rigs, they don't. Now, you might find somebody over on IRV2, that's IRV2.com. Go to the owners forum and find the Beaver owners. And you might ask that question over there. But in general, it's really difficult to find plumbing and electrical schematics for RVs. Now, what I will say is your chassis manufacturer, like mine, I have a Freightliner. You can call the 800 number for Freightliner and ask them for anything about the chassis. They're going to ask you for the serial number for your chassis, the last 6 of your serial number. Spartan does this too, by the way. And they will send you the schematics, every bit of information you want about your chassis. That's your rolling chassis. I needed the airline schematics for mine 2 years ago. I had a little air leak I was trying to track down. And I just got on the phone to Freightliner and gave them a call. And bang, in 10 minutes I had an email with a PDF of the airline schematics for my chassis. So anyway, but yeah, finding those schematics is really difficult. Yep, there you go. Thanks, Aaron. Yep. Lola, you would need to find out what type of a heater it is. So usually, if you can go on the outside, and there's going to be a small rectangular cover that covers the heater. There's probably a round outlet port exhaust, and if you pull the screws off of that and look at that, you're going to be able to see the back of that. And oftentimes there'll be a sticker with the model number, a serial number, manufacturer. Sometimes that information's on the front of the heater, but one way or another, if you can find that information, then you may be able to find a replacement fan motor. You probably would be able to find a replacement fan motor. But if and I'm happy to help you with that, but that can be a tricky project to do. You know, you might end up wanting to get an RV tech to do that for you. Unless you're super handy, and I would again be happy to help you try to find the part for that if you would like, and you could find the manufacturer, the model number of the heater itself, and if you would email that information to me at trbolin, BOWLIN, at gmail.com, then we'll go back and forth, and I'll see if I can help you out on that, Lola. Mike McCluskey asks, my black and gray clean out lever sits way under my travel trailer from factory. I'd like to extend it out some. So do I have to crawl under the trailer? Would it be okay to do this? Yes. I'm assuming they probably have cable releases. There's probably some kind of a cable with a T handle in your water bay that you're pulling. You can move those out, but you're going to probably have to drop the belly pan of your travel trailer. I'm assuming is probably what you have, or fifth wheel. But the belly pans usually pop right out, and then that exposes all your plumbing. And again, the plumbing in an RV isn't any different than the plumbing in your home. It uses ABS or PVC. Uh, you can buy new gate valves. You'll probably end up having to get new gate valves. I do have a video on replacing the gate valves. I did that in my rig 2 years ago. The gate valves are really inexpensive, $14 to $16 a piece. The black line is usually 3 inch, and the gray line is usually 1.5 or 2 inches. But yeah, that's a fairly straightforward and easy project. You would have to, obviously move those valves out, union up those lines, with just a union or a connector. But that shouldn't be that difficult. Two feathers. Wow. Thank you. You are so generous. I really greatly appreciate the super chat. Thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you so much. Ask a good hard question to get your money's worth, okay? All right, let me go back here and catch up. Yep, okay, good, Aaron. Yep. Oh, thank you, Jason. Jason comments off the RV topic. It's okay to jump around a little bit, I think. Hope folks don't mind too much. But he said he saw some of my photography, and if you would like to check out my photography, you can run over to my website at trbolin.com. There's, I don't know, probably 60 odd photos there. You can also follow me on Instagram or on Facebook. Like Jason dropped a question over on Facebook this week. Those links are in the description below as well. But yeah, I enjoy photography a lot. Let me turn that phone off. But thank you. Actually, I thought about doing an NFT. I just haven't done the research to figure out how to do that yet. Tim comments, my dealership replaced my switch for my awning inside my camper, and the next day the switch quit working again. Wow, that's a pain, isn't it? That is a total pain. That tells me that maybe that switch might be too small, and it's maybe arcing and burning the contacts. Um, but yeah, that's a drag. Sorry to hear that. Jason, he says on his Heartland 2021, no schematics to be found. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with the RV manufacturers. They just don't have schematics for plumbing and electrical. You would think they would, but they didn't. They don't. John's in from Michigan. Hello. He's you're don't worry about it, John. You're never late. But yeah, so it's great to have you in, John. Welcome aboard. Yeah, there you go. That's a good point too, Aaron. They might have an owner's manual over there that you can dig up from the folks over in the Beaver forum over on IRV2. Um, and so you might just ask around on that, and you might have somebody that shows up with a owner's manual. I doubt it'll have schematics in it, but you might be able to turn up an owner's manual. You're very welcome, Dennis. You're also welcome, Lola. Happy to help. Food porn chef asked a question, and this is a good one. What would I say about going to RV school in Texas just to be able to fix and troubleshoot my own RV? Um, I'm I think that school is kind of expensive, but and it's so I don't know what I would I don't know how I learned from the School of Hard Knocks on my RV, and just digging in and figuring it out. And YouTube University is amazing. The content that's on there, you can find somebody just that has done just about everything and recorded it in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know. If you have the time, that might not be a bad investment, and it might also get you to a point where you could help others. So yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure how to answer that one, food porn chef. Aaron says he's thought about doing same thing himself. Yeah, I've well, I guess maybe 3 years ago I thought about it, but life happens. Okay, Groove Jet, our buddy from over there in the UK, 2 in the morning. He says he has to go to work at 6. Uh, An experience that made us remove water pump and dismantle many panels. I wish I knew more at the time. And like I said, why do we have screws left over? There's a well, extra parts are not always good. Yeah, yeah, and those screws you'll find out when you get a rattle. Lola, you can just go back and watch the video. The video will be available on my channel immediately following the broadcast. And on the right side, you can watch, and the chat will be there with the video. So you'll be able to go through the chat. As you scroll through the video, the chat will scroll with the video. And you should be able to go back and find anything that you need that way. Tim asks, is there anything I can add to my TV antenna to get better reception? Yeah, they make little signal boosters, fairly inexpensive, that you can put in line with from the TV antenna. That'll give you anywhere from 20 to 40 decibels of signal gain, which will help drag in some further away channels. Or you might consider replacing the antenna. WinGuard makes some amazing equipment. I'm working on an article for my website and also a video based on a question that we answered last week, I believe it was, is whether I would do a Wi-Fi or cell phone booster. And I thought that was a great question. And so I've been doing some research, and I've known WineGuard as far as RV antennas forever. I've had 3 WineGuard antennas. In fact, I have a WineGuard right now on my rig. But I'll be honest with you, the little dish antenna that I got from WineGuard is pretty disappointing. But they make some real good antennas that'll drag stations in from, you know, 60, 70, 80 miles away. And they're full down, they're good stuff. And you may want to just take and add a little bit more to the money you would spend on the amplifier and just get a new antenna. And they're really easy to install. There's nothing to it. Um, so you might look at the WineGuard antennas over on Amazon or RV Pro or any of those other places where you would go to buy RV parts. Um, but I would look at the WineGuard antennas. They're extremely good quality. Aaron posted up the holding tanks drain valves. Thank you, Aaron. Where's the good music festivals happening? Boy, I don't know. I'm so out of the loop. Um, I thought there was a little music festival up at the fairgrounds like last weekend there in Pocatello. Uh, but I mean, I think the big ones are going on. I think Floyd Fest, which is out in Floyd, Virginia, which is a long haul from Idaho, by the way. I've done that one several times. It's really good. But I'm kind of out of loop with this change in me having to come out here to my dad's. It really threw all of my whole summer plans in limbo, and so I I'm not sure. Wish I knew. I wish I could tell you. But Floyd Fest is a good one, and it's happening here soon. I think it's sold out though. I think you might find Suwannee is a good one. I think it just happened. Halloween is really fun. That's down there in Florida, and that's a really fun one. So those are some that I know of. In 2012, I did the music festival tour, as I called it, where I did 16 different music festivals, traveled to them in my RV, and that was a lot of fun. That was a good fun summer. Okay, let's see here. Have wheels, will travel. Yeah, well, I would look at Suwannee. Well, Suwannee, I think just happened. Peach Fest is usually a good one. It's up in Ohio. Um, then, yeah, I think Halloween is fun. It's down in Florida, and it's late. It's at Halloween time. You're welcome, Lola. No, that's a good question. Food porn. Uh, you can do cellular and Wi-Fi in one unit from WineGuard, by the way. But I'm not aware of one that will do cellular, Wi-Fi, and TV all in one unit. It wouldn't surprise me if WineGuard has something like that, but I'm not aware of one that does that all three all at once. But they definitely have one. In fact, I was looking at it very carefully. That does cellular and Wi-Fi. Oh, Jason has the WineGuard Air 360 with Gateway add-on has been outstanding. Does that do TV or is that just cellular and Wi-Fi, Jason? Okay, so great question, Tim. Staying on the subject of antennas, he asks, how long should I wait to replace the gasket that is up there with the antenna so it doesn't leak inside the camper? Um, well, yeah, what I would do is I would get some self-leveling lap sealant. Dicor comes to mind. There's others, but Dicor is the go-to product for that. And I would just go up there and I would put a small bead of this self-leveling sealant around the antenna. Um, I have an example. I fixed my antenna on my RV. This has been two years ago. There is a video on my channel around that where you would see the sealant. But yeah, just take that lap sealant and I would just put a bead of that lap sealant around the edge of that antenna. That's going to prevent any leaking, and you wouldn't have to take it off and replace the gasket. If it was just the gasket, I would think they would be. Well, there's a lot that goes into it, but at least 7 to 10 years you should get out of that gasket before you should have to worry about it leaking. Depending upon where you're at, if you're in a super hot like Arizona all the time where it's outside baking all day, that would shorten the life. But if you're in the humid, hot Midwest or anywhere where the humidity's a little higher, I don't think I'd worry about it. I think I would just lap seal the flange, the metal part of the antenna mount that sits on top of the RV, and I think you would be in good shape that way. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Thank you, Aaron. You are the man. Rhythm and Roots in Charlestown, Rhode Island. Wow, that's a good one. Lula Bingo. Lula Bingo, welcome to the channel. You're a new commenter, and I'm happy to have you in here. Tim, thank you so much for your super chat. Very nice of you to do that. Okay, great. So that's Labor Day weekend, huh? Rhythm and Roots. That sounds like a good one. That might be fun. Oh, there you go. So there's your answer. The Air 360 Plus with the gateway does 4G LTE, TV, and Wi-Fi. So I figured Winegard had one of those. They've been in the antenna business for many years. And here's the thing with antennas: you get what you pay for. You can find a cheap antenna. This is the voice of experience because I bought a cheap antenna when I started working on my house there in Idaho last fall, and it didn't last a month before it had fallen apart. I ended up going back and buying a little better antenna. This is for my home. But yeah, you're going to pay a little more, but that Winegard gear, it is rock solid, and they're a good company. They stand behind their products too. Got a good warranty. Yeah, Two Feathers. He's in Washington and partial to bluegrass. It's music for the soul. I totally agree. Well, there's the Mountain Music Festival going on. I think it's in Boise. Well, it's actually I think up at Bogus Basin. And I think that's coming up here real soon, and that should have a lot of it. I'm personally a huge fan of the infamous String Dusters, by the way, and the String Cheese Incident. You get a little bluegrass out of those guys as well. Oh, that's good advice. Yeah. Lula Bingo says reserve as soon as possible. And yeah, I think a lot of the music festivals are sold out already. I know Floyd Fest is. I think Suwannee was. But yeah, a lot of them are selling out. There's a lot of demand. Everybody was pent up last year, and they all got canceled. So they're all anxious to get back out and enjoy themselves. Um, so coastal Rhode Island is beautiful. This old house did a house up there in Barrington, I think it was, Rhode Island, right on the coast. Looked beautiful out there. Jason says about 600 bucks for the complete setup, then 100 gigs from T-Mobile for 50 bucks a month. That's a pretty good deal. I'm spoiled. I admit it. I have a grandfathered unlimited data plan from Verizon. I've had since 2000. Uh, my past life, I was the IT manager for a large engineering company, and I needed data on my phone. A lot of times I would go to set up a new office, and we wouldn't have data in the office, until we got the DSL hauled in or whatever we were using for connectivity. And so, we were always needing to interact. I was a manager, I had people looking for me. And so I got an unlimited data plan. And when I was full time, and there were months I'd run 450 gigabytes on this phone, and 30 bucks a month, flat out. So that's a good buy. But you can't get them anymore. Thank you so much, Food Porn Chef, for the super chat. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Oh, there you go. Wow, that sounds great. Cajun, Zydeco, and Roots music, Alula Bingo. Um, every when I lived in Denver, I actually lived in right downtown Denver for 3 years, 16th or 17th and Glenarm for those of you that are um, familiar with downtown Denver. I was a block from the Hard Rock Cafe. But they used to have a music festival there every summer, and they had this Zydeco band that was just amazing. Zydeco is so much fun, so high energy. I dare anybody to sit and just watch a Zydeco band play. You got to get up and move. It's just the way it is. Group Jet says most manufacturers that I install appliances for, or most home equipment, say they don't use silicone on this and that. I ignore this notice because it always leaks if I don't. Wonder why they say. Um, On RVs or anything that moves, silicone would not be your first choice for a sealant, particularly on the roof, because those bodies and everything move and shake and rack and roll. And silicone will separate from the surface and create a leak. The thing about lap sealant is it stays pliable and it will flow years after you put it on. It skins over, right? So it skins over so that it gets a surface, a hard surface, but underneath it's still flexible and pliable. So even as the body flexes, as things move around, it doesn't separate. And if it does separate, then what's still pliable inside will flow in and fill up any cracks and seal it back up. So on the roof of your RV, only use lap sealant. On the walls and those sorts of things, so on the walls, it's okay to use silicone, but I use Sikaflex, which is from the boating industry. And it's very similar. It's flexible. They call it Sikaflex for a reason, because it stays flexible. And so as things move around, like on a boat or in an RV, things are moving and racking around. Then that Sikaflex also moves with it, and so it doesn't separate. So those are two options that I would say that I would use for sure. Good for you, food porn. Yeah, the UDP, the grandfathered unlimited data plan, is the bomb if you have one. Yeah, I hear you. That's a good point. Michael, okay, just go to Amazon. If you've gone through my Amazon store, just click in the search window up at the top and type CRC silicone spray. My worst camping story. Okay, I got one for you. I'll give you that here in just a minute. Yeah, Zydeco. And I'm right. Yeah, you can't sit through a Zydeco concert. You just can't. Seika, Seika, I believe is how that's spelled, John. All right. Tim wants to hear my worst camping story. Let me think about that for a minute, because I got a couple. Okay. One that comes to mind would have been about, and actually this happens to be about a music festival called Wakarusa, which is actually was 60 miles from where I'm at here at my folks' house, down here just to the south of me in Arkansas. And it was probably my fourth music festival in my Dutch Star, my 40-foot Dutch Star. And they pulled us into these fields. And a lot of times when you go to these music festivals, they'll park you in a grassy field or something like that. And it rained, and it rained, and it rained. And I ended up having to sit for 3 extra days just waiting for the ground to dry up enough that I could move that big heavy bugger out of there. It wasn't a huge problem, but the only bad part of it is that I didn't take my Toad with me, my car. I left my Toad here at my mom and dad's house, and then I just took the RV down. I figured, well, I don't need to take it. Plus, the roads to get to this festival site, well, they call it the Pig Trail. And if you've ever driven through Arkansas, rural Missouri, there ain't a straight road anywhere. They're up and down and twisty, turny, left and right, and you're moving and oh man, God, they're just. I'm spoiled. I live out in Idaho where the roads are long, straight, and flat. Well, until you get to the mountains. And so that was a drag. And then probably the next one would have been about 20 years ago, Tim, and I was tent camping with some friends up in the Island Park area of Idaho. And we were way back in there, and the bridge got washed out. There was this real heavy thunderstorm. A bridge got washed out, and we ended up having to leave Fortunately, this wasn't me, but it was my buddy. His pickup, all of our camping gear and everything on the other side of the bridge. The sheriff's office gave us a ride out to the road where we had somebody come get us, and he couldn't get his vehicle back for 3 months until they got that bridge rebuilt. He had to leave his truck over on a forest road, just parked off the side because there was no way out. It was a blind dead end canyon, and yeah, so that was a good one too. So I think those two come to mind as far as bad camping trips. And otherwise, I really haven't had a bad camping trip. I think any camping trip's a good thing. It's a great deal. There's a new name we haven't seen before, Kenneth Umbarger. Hi, Kenneth. ProFlex, there you go. As long as it's flexible, that's the key. Aaron says for the exterior of the RV, he uses ProFlex. As long as it's a flexible, don't use the silicone like you would use in your bathroom. Don't do it. That's not flexible. So as long as you get a flexible silicone sealant, you're good. Don't use silicone on your roof. Use lap sealant. Dicor is my go-to for that. Tina McKnight. Great question, Tina, and welcome to the chat. We're happy to have you in here. Is there a universal size for RV slide seals, or are they different? And is there a brand that has the bulb and wiper all in one? Are they worth it? I couldn't tell you a brand name right off the top of my head. They're usually all different, but similar. I would recommend that you take a piece of your seal, if you can, and go to your local RV store or go to a body shop and ask them if they know where you could find it. You can also look on, actually, you can get it on Amazon, and you can find it that way. You could call the manufacturer of your RV and ask them the brand and model number of the seals they use. They might even sell you those seals. I know that like a lot of the RV manufacturers have a robust parts department, and so if you call them and say, "Hey, I need the seals for a 2000 or a 2006 Montana fifth wheel," they're going to be able to tell you that they have them in stock and sell them to you. Or you can also find them through a picture search, which is really handy. Take a picture of it and go to Google and do an image search, and you're more than likely going to be able to find that seal. But I couldn't tell you a particular brand that would have both the seal and wipe with it. And no, they're not universal size. Everybody has their own. Most of the slide seals are all this very similar, but yeah, they're not universal by any. The pig trail was a nightmare in a long vehicle. In fact, it was a nightmare in a 40-foot Class A motorhome, which, by the way, I drove Virginia 8 out off the Blue Ridge Parkway down towards Fairy Stone State Park, I think is what it is called. And that was a bad day. Woo! And I had my toad with me that day. I scared a few people to death on that road, I'll tell you what. Two Feathers asks, he has lap sealant on his roof, 98% in great shape. There is a spot where it's starting to crack on the top. Should I scrape it off and replace, or just put more on? Yeah, what I would do is I would carefully scrape it off and then fill it back in rather than go over it. Unless they're just really small surface cracks, then you're probably fine. But if it's a deeper crack, then I would go ahead and do it right and scrape it out carefully and then just replace it. Well, we got quite the crowd in tonight. And so if you're new to the chat, your like is very greatly appreciated. Give me that thumbs up. It helps Google suggest a video to more folks. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. Throw a question over in the chat window. I'll stick and answer questions as long as they're coming in, or until, and I'll give you, we'll do another 30 minutes, if the questions keep rolling in. Visit my Amazon store. Link in the description below if you'd like to support the channel. Lots of great content over on my website at trbolin.com. Visiting me over there also helps Google suggest my content to other folks, and that's greatly appreciated. So we're going to keep going here. Let me go over to the comments here and kind of catch up. Worst black tank story? I don't personally have one, but I do have one. I was in was this in Virginia, and I think it might have been Wytheville. Don't quote me on that, but nice little RV park. And I'm sitting there, and I was actually sitting at my desk working. I was working a contract job at the time, and a family rolls in. It looked like grandma and grandpa and two grandkids, and so they pull in and park. And so grandpa's out getting started to set up, getting the water and the power hooked up. And the grandson, probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7, he wasn't very young, but he was wanting to help grandpa. And so he was going to help grandpa. So he ran over, and there was a cover on the where you connect your drain line, your sewer line. And he pulled that off. And apparently grandpa must have had the valve open, and that little kid got just drenched in black water. I can't even imagine how horrified the poor kid was. He was just crying. He was just standing there with poop dripping off of him. It was disgusting. And so, lesson learned, make damn sure your valves are closed before you pull that cover off. There's always a little bit of drainage that comes out anyway. I don't care how good you drain those tanks. There's always that little bit of drainage that comes out, but nothing like that. This was a couple gallons of black water that just saturated this poor little kid. I've just it was bad. Mick the dog says, don't use Dicor on a fiberglass roof. Absolutely true. Use Dicor on TPO, EDPM, rubber roofs. On fiberglass roofs, you want to use the flexible silicone sealant for sure. I'm glad you pointed that out, and made me remember to say that. If you have a fiberglass roof, don't use Dicor. Flexible lap sealant. Use the flexible silicone sealants. Okay, Dorian Hitchcock has a question. Is there a good RV shop around Pocatello that would take a look at an old Dometic fridge? It cools on AC 110. It sparks and the pilot tries to start, but it blows out. Yeah, there are several. There's Gander Mountain, which is really Camping World. They're out there on, they're out there in Chubbuck. They have a good reputation. Also, there's a couple up in Idaho Falls that I would recommend. If you give me just a second, I might remember the name of them. Bish's RV in Idaho Falls comes to mind, which is only 50 miles away. And or there's one other in Pokey. Give me just a second to think about this. It might come to me. But yeah, those are the ones that I would say. Are you in Pocatello, Dorian? Because that's normally where I'm at. Just curious. Groovejet says, TR, would you recommend the RV life? As I live the life 24/7, most of us use RVs for leisure. Did I ever get tired or start to think that it's more work than needed just to live a normal life? No. I loved it. Aaron Jameson, our moderator, is a full-timer. I know there's several others. Food Porn Chef is a full-timer. And I loved it. The only part I really didn't like was the inevitable move, right? But that's just a part of it. The change of venue, the being in new places, being able to go and explore, to take your time, go for a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever, maybe a month. That part of it was great. Being able to chase 70 degrees was really fun. When the weather would get cold up north, then I would start my slow migration south. It would take me usually 4 weeks or so, maybe sometimes 6, to get south from Idaho or Montana, wherever I was, back to the Southwest, and I wintered around Tucson for years. So yes, I think the 24/7, the full-time RV life is very fun. It was only family, my family situation that made me go and get a house. And it looks like my timing was good, as I'm frankly not sure my dad's going to be able to be independent. He may have to move to Idaho with me. So yes, uh, food porn chef Aaron, you could throw a comment in the chat window if you're so inclined about full-time RV living. I think Jason, are you full-timer too? What about people using the butyl tape on the roof to repair cracks and bulletproof it? Butyl tape is not designed to use on cracks. Butyl tape is designed to use under the flange of equipment that mounts on the roof, like your roof vents, like a antenna, as a matter of fact. Maybe you have a cover over vents, plumbing vents, uh, satellite dish covers or satellite dish mounts, or TV antennas, I might have mentioned. Also, butyl tape can be used on the sidewall around like the flange of the water heater, because there's a metal flange. So if it has a metal flange, you can use the butyl tape on it, but it is not built to be used to seal cracks on the roof. So I would not use it for that. But yes, butyl tape is very effective. Also, when you replace your roof, there's the metal retaining uh, bar that sits on the outside edge of the roof that holds the rubber roof down, and you use butyl tape underneath that. Butyl tape will smash out, and the butyl will not harden. It stays soft and flexible and pliable. Again, as we were saying, as things rack and roll and move around a little bit, the butyl tape will flow in and fill in those cracks. When I say cracks, I mean, a small separation under, say, the roof retaining strip, the rubber roof retaining strip. Or like on the vent, the vents, they'll move a little bit. They'll expand and contract in the heat, and it'll flow in underneath that. So butyl tape is very specific for what it's built for, not used to fill cracks. I would use lap sealant if I was going to use that on a roof. Mick the dog, yeah, poor kid. Ooh, yeah. Can you just imagine? I get a lot of comments back on my holding tank video, and one of the ones that makes me laugh every time is the people that say you should wear gloves. Well, I've said this before, and I say, okay, did you always put on a pair of gloves when you changed your kids' nappy diapers? Do you put on a pair of gloves when you wipe yourself? What's the difference? I don't get it. But everybody has poo phobia, and everybody has different sensibilities. That's just the way life is. I've gotten to where it just slides off my back now. It used to bug me at first, but I'm just like, okay, whatever. Dorian, hey, when I get home, let's get together and have a cup of coffee. I'd love to hook up with you and say hey. But yeah, I lived in Pocatello, got my bachelor's, my master's at ISU. I moved up to Haley Sun Valley. Actually, I worked on radio in Pocatello and Idaho, in eastern Idaho for many years. And then I moved up to the Haley Sun Valley area and lived over there for quite a few years. And then moved to Denver, blah, 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 lived full time. But I bought a house there last August in Pocatello. I'm near the university. So yeah, I'd love to meet you and maybe have a cup of coffee with you, or a beer if you're so inclined, or a glass of milk. Hey Larry, glad to see you in. Larry's been fighting a water leak for about a month now, and it sounds like the line going to the toilet, clamp at the connector, now to try and find how to fix it. Not easy to get to. Yeah, man, they sure make it difficult to work on. You might actually have to crack the toilet off the floor. to get to it, which I know is, pun intended, a pain in the butt. But yeah, you might have to actually remove the toilet to get to that to be able to fix it. I know that in some places and cases they're pretty tight and they're hard to get into. But great to have you in, Larry. I'm still over here in Arkansas myself. Um, sure enjoyed the last couple days where it's been nice and cool, but it looks like it's going to be hot and muggy for the next couple. Then the rain. Always back to the rain. Lou Reed, if you're so inclined. Let me get back to comments here. Yeah, group chat. Yes, correct. Chase the weather. Enjoy meeting interesting people in my travels. Yeah, I always had great neighbors. Always super friendly people that you meet when you're RVing. Yeah, I mean, the lifestyle is pretty nice. Yeah, it's pretty good. Mick the dog says, "I've been camping for years. We just bought our new to us first Class A. Very much looking forward to going out and seeing this beautiful country." Yeah, that and again, I can't overemphasize. If you're going to full time, that ability to just go and stay a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and just really explore an area. You know, when you're going on vacation for 2 weeks, you're here for a day or two, you're here for a day or two, you're here for a day or two. You never really get to sense or to get, to feel like a local. Somebody has said to me in the past, other full timers, we'd like to feel like a local. And I think that's what's fun about the full timing lifestyle for sure. And in fact, I totally intend to go back to doing that when my life permits. Now, Jason Mills, who's a regular viewer, is also a full timer. He says full timing is so much fun. We do it 2 dogs and an 8-year-old with autism. Yeah, my brother's on this spectrum, by the way, Jason. So that's a handful, but good for you, man. That's great. Well, that could have been too, Mick the dog. A Turnip tape is a whole different beast. The Eternabond tape is amazing stuff. It's a dirty bugger to get off, though. I'll tell you what. If you go watch episode 1 of my roof replacement video, my my roof replacement video, uh, I ended up using a hot putty knife. I would take a blowtorch and heat the putty knife up and scrape that damn Dicor or Eternabond tape off. They don't call it Eternabond for nothing, but it fixed a seal for sure, and it would fix a crack. It's good stuff, but it is solid stuff, good stuff. Uh, I should have read your second comment, Mick. Yeah, it is a pain to get off when you need to fix it right. But like I said, I found at least getting it off the metal cowling of my RV, I used a hot putty knife and it scraped up. And then I used gasoline, and it seemed to take it off the best of anything I tried. Well, I guess I didn't try acetone. I imagine acetone would have taken up, but I tried mineral spirits and lacquer thinner and all of that. But I ended up using gasoline, and the gasoline took it off. But you wouldn't want to use gasoline on your rubber roof. That's going to cause a real problem. Dorian. Yeah, got you on that one. Group chat says, I've been a tradesman for 20 years and still every day I'm learning more. Yeah, being a professional for me is when I make a mistake and I learn to find a better way to do it. There's the old saying that it takes 10,000 hours of practice to learn to do something and be an expert at it. 10,000 hours. I had a comment that come in last week on one of my videos about the guy mentioning that he was a master plumber, and it took just as long to become a master plumber as it does to become a doctor. So yeah, and I started as a draftsman back in 1982. I went to drafting school, and I highly recommend trade school. There's nothing wrong with being a tradesman. Absolutely nothing. Hey, there's our buddy Gene Boyd from the Pacific Northwest. He says he had a roof leak. The wall panel that has wallpaper on it is deteriorated. The thin wood behind it is also deteriorated. Any tips on fixing it? Yeah, that's called Luan plywood, and your best bet is to take it out and replace it. I know no other way to fix that. It is so thin that Luan plywood is a 1/4 inch max, maybe 3/16. And once it starts to delaminate, you're done. So first off, fix the leak, then just bite the bullet, strip that plywood out, and replace it. You don't have to use Luan. You can get thin plywood from Home Depot or your favorite home improvement store, whatever it is. Uh, but yeah, once it starts to delaminate, you're done. You'll never, you can try to cut it out and patch it. The problem is finding the right thickness so it doesn't look like hell when you patch it. I know that's not a, great answer, but that's the fact. Jack. Gene. Larry McBride, already done that. Going to see if there's some shark connector that will work. Why do they use those metal bands? Well, I think it's because they're called Otkin clamps, and because it's fast, it's inexpensive. Um, but yeah, they are a bugger to fix. Larry, I totally agree with you. Mick the dog comments, we're not going to full time, but I just retired and my wife works remote, so we're looking into good mobile internet so we don't have to hurry to go anywhere. Yeah, the comment that came in last week, and I'll just say this: Wi-Fi in RV parks sucks. Period. End of conversation. I don't care how much you boost it; it sucks. Rarely are you going to find an RV park with decent Wi-Fi signal. I think they mostly feel like, okay, these people are coming here to visit the town. They're not coming here to have Wi-Fi. Well, a lot of full-timers, or at least people that are traveling and they want to have connectivity, remote workers and stuff like that. You can try poaching Wi-Fi from the Starbucks or McDonald's. They make systems, and Aaron, I can't think of the name of this company that maybe you might know them, but they make a system that's specific to RVs. And what it does is it will take 2 or 3 Wi-Fi signals it could find in the area and bond them together. And supposedly that works really good, but they're $600 or $700. And Wi-Fi is going to be disappointing. My first choice would almost always to get a cellular booster and boost a cell signal. And if you have to, get a couple of devices so that you've got connectivity. One on AT&T, one on Verizon or T-Mobile or whatever, or maybe a jetpack. And in fact, I'm going to recommend that you go over to the Mobile Internet Resource Center. They have a YouTube channel. They're going to have more information you're going to find over there. That's what they do. They're full-timers. Chris and Cherie are full-timers. And their whole business is helping people stay connected when they're traveling, when they're nomadic. And they've got the stuff. You want the right answer, you go there. But I almost always would recommend going with the cell phone booster versus the Wi-Fi. Sean Morris, how can I fix a crack in water holding tank? 2011 Winnebago. That's a tough one. Is that your freshwater holding tank that's cracked? Geez. I plastic weld it. Would probably be your best bet if you can get to it. Um, yeah, I don't know if maybe a Turnabond tape might work if you can get into it. You want to make dang sure that you get the tank good and clean before you put the Turnabond tape on. But yeah, or plastic weld it. I think that's really the only way you're going to successfully repair your freshwater tank or your blackwater tanks for that far, as far as that goes. Yeah, that's a drag. Actually, the tanks aren't that expensive if you need to replace it. They're a bugger to get in and out, but you could replace it. But yeah, if you're going to fix a crack, I would try plastic welding or I would try a Turnabond tape. I wouldn't bother with silicone or anything like that because, um, again, because it flexes, it's going to expand and contract, it's going to move, and that silicone's going to bust. The flexible might be a good fix. Might is the operative word there. But yeah, fixing a broken water tank, a cracked water tank, is a bugger. Um, I had good luck. I will say I had good luck replace or repairing a cracked drain line. My black tank drain line cracked. This has been 8 or 9 years ago. No video on this one, but I got some of that plumber's epoxy. Picked it up from Home Depot. It's a two-part putty, but it's epoxy. You mix it together, and then I cleaned the crack extremely well. In fact, I took a wire brush and I wire brushed everything out of it, got it nice and clean. And I put that two-part epoxy, plumber's epoxy, in it, and it worked amazingly well. In fact, it's still working. I didn't have to replace the line. It's still holding water. So you might try some of that as well. What is the reason I ask if it's your freshwater tank is I'm not sure about the plumber's epoxy, whether or not it would work for a freshwater tank because you don't want to contaminate your water. But that stuff sets as solid as concrete, so you might be okay with that. The plumber's epoxy might work for you as well, that you can pick up at your home improvement store. Aaron loves the snowflakes on the glass. Yeah, I like to see them in my rear view window when they start. Reese Little, great to have you in for the first time in the live stream. Just subscribed a few weeks ago and learned the Blackwater treatment you suggested, and it worked fantastic. Great, I'm glad to hear that. Up in Canada with the huge heat wave we just had, so thanks for the Blackwater video. You're very welcome. Yeah, that works great. The thing about the treating your holding tanks is that when it gets hot, things happen faster, naturally, right? So you might have to retreat with borax. But if it starts to smell, just throw another quarter, half a cup of borax in. The smell is gone nearly instantly. But yeah, it's rock solid. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Aaron Jameson mentions that FMCA has their MiFi program, and that's not a bad one. I know a lot of people that use that. But yeah, and then Mick the Dog says, yeah, we're going to go sell connection, no question. Yep, that's the way to go. Camp Goer 1. Hello, Linda. Great to have you in the chat tonight. John had to take the tank out and plastic weld it, and then he epoxied it. So apparently John had a similar problem. So plastic welding and epoxy sounds like that works for him. Was that your freshwater tank, John, or was that one of your wastewater tanks? Shauna Morris, another new one commenting tonight. Great to have you in, Shauna. I think I'll replace it then. Thank you. I'm in Arizona, so it's probably dried out. I'm going to buy the plumber epoxy. Okay, yeah, that'll probably work for you. My goodness, Linda, you've had so much trouble with that propane. She says she had her propane tank filled and blew out the cap on the bottom. Propane everywhere leaking. Man, yeah, you've had your challenges with the propane, haven't you? So just real quick, if you haven't commented, throw a comment in. Let us know where you're watching from tonight. If you haven't let us know, I always like to see. I know we have the Groove Jet. He's over there in England, which is probably coming up on 3:30 in the morning over there. Um, and we have our friends from up in Canada watching, and basically all over the U.S. I think we'll go just a couple more minutes. Any last minute questions that might come in? Again, a quick reminder, please like the video if you do. It helps Google know that people like it, and they'll rank it up so other people get to watch it. Don't forget to subscribe, set the notification, visit my Amazon store if you'd like to support the store. I'm going to go over and I'll add the CRC to my store as soon as the stream ends. Give me 5 minutes and I'll throw CRC up on the handy items for RV owners. I thought it was there, but it will be 5 minutes after this stream is over, and then you can run over and support the channel by purchasing stuff from Amazon. Uh, your support is greatly appreciated. Remember, I get a small commission, but you pay the exact same price. Linda, on that propane stuff, just take it to the RV dealer. Take it down there if you can. If you're not living in it, take it down there to the company I recommended to you. I guess a couple months ago. Roadrunner. Oh, geez, what's the name of them? I took them and had my awning put in over there. Merrigan's Roadrunner RV down in Tucson. Those guys are top notch. They'll take care of you. And yeah, that you've been fighting that propane, and that's so dangerous if that's leaking. Uh, I, I I worry about you, so I would get that fixed right. Okay, Moral CM from Dallas. Spent a lot of time in Dallas, up there in Richardson. We had an office up there, Office 75 in Richardson, and I would go there regularly. We built a lot of that. All of those cameras that are out there on the interstates, we pulled all the fiber for that around the on the interstate system there in Dallas back in the 2000 early 2000 when they started doing that camera system up there. Okay, Shauna Morris, thank you very much. Um, you're worth a million. Every one of my viewers and subscribers are so important to me. I try to answer every question I can, and so thank you so much, Shauna. You're very kind. Mick the Dog's in Fort Wayne, but they have a house in Arcadia, Florida as well. Yeah, Fort Wayne's a good. That's a fun little town. I've had some fun up in Fort Wayne in Indiana. Linda, the only thing I could suggest is turn off the propane tank. Uh, yeah, that's the only thing could suggest because I'm going to err on the side of caution and safety. Yeah, you can't really tape it. You're not going to be able to tape it and make it uh, gas tight. Um, yeah, I would get that. I would get that fixed. Groove Jets in Teesside, Northeast. I think you probably meant East, UK. Thank you for watching, Groove Jet. Oh, you're headed out to Ohio tomorrow. Great. Beep beep. Road Runner. The coyotes after you. Groove Jet. Mick the Dog says, I'm going to park my RV at my house in Florida and instantly double the square footage of the whole place. Yeah. Um, oh, the fuel line. Oh, for your gas. Yeah, that's actually a little easier to fix. But again, you're not going to tape it because gasoline will act as a solvent on just about any tape. That's a drag for sure. Oh, good. I'm glad to see you guys are catching up. Aaron and Linda Campgo are going to connect up there. And by the way, go over to Aaron's channel and subscribe if you're not a subscriber for Aaron Jemison. He's my moderator. He's a great guy. He does a super job of moderating the chat for me. He's always Johnny on the spot to get the links to videos that I mentioned so I can pay attention to the chat, and I greatly appreciate Aaron. And so if you'll go over, check out his channel, subscribe to his channel. He's got a lot of great RV content as well. He's a super nice guy. And so thank you, Aaron, for your great work. Reese Little wants to know my favorite place to travel in the U.S. I really enjoyed Mount Rushmore, and I stayed at Deadwood when I was there. I stayed at something Gulch in Deadwood, South Dakota. Yeah, it's not going to come to me. But that, and then of course Yellowstone. Uh, what I would recommend is if you're going to Yellowstone, don't bother try to go to stay in the park. Over on the Idaho side, about 20 minutes from West Yellowstone, is Henry's Lake State Park, and that's a really nice place. Great campground. It's right there on Henry's Lake, and it's beautiful country up in there. And you're only 20 minutes from the park, so if you want to be on the west southwest side of the park, that's a great place to go. There's the Bill Fromm State Park over there, or Bill Fromm County Park. That's Fremont County Park. And then also there's the Red Rocks RV Park. Those are all right there in the Island Park area. Plus, there's a ton of Forest Service campgrounds all up in there. So I think that the area around West Yellowstone, the Island Park area, uh, in Idaho, are probably those would be my favorite places to go. Um, but because that's what I like to do. Uh, Theory Gadet in Denver, Colorado. Thank you for all that great info. You're very welcome, Theory. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I lived in Denver for 3 years. I loved it there. Great town. Camp goer. Let's see here. Scroll past. Okay, so you're going to school. Great. Oh, it's not the propane tank. Yeah. Thank you for group jet. Oh yeah, that's a 2 inch gas line that connects your the fill spout to the fuel tank. It's actually not that difficult to fix. You might find any repair shop that could do that for you, Linda. We're talking about that. Oh, John comments back that it was his freshwater tank that he plastic welded and he epoxied. So that sounds like a good solution. Plastic welded epoxy sounds like it's going to fix that freshwater tank crack. Yeah, that's a good one too, Mick. Sometimes a JB weld, if it's the oil resistant one, works pretty good. Okay, I can do that, John. Let me put that up there for you and CRC. I will add those to my store right after the chat ends, which I think, geez, we still have 36 folks in the chat. And as long as the questions are coming in, I'll keep answering questions. Probably not much longer, but we'll see. Yeah, Mick. Mick the dog says he wants to. Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about group chat. Um, yeah, the Grand Tetons are amazing. There's a video on my channel. I believe it's going to be in 2018. If you go into On the Road, in the On the Road playlist for 2018, there's several videos from the Island Park, uh, uh, Grand Teton area, where my friend Sally came out from New York and we tiki toured around out there for a couple of weeks. Uh, Amazing country, amazing country. A lot of oh my god factor out there, especially for somebody from Fort Wayne where it's flat or rolling hills. Yeah, it's amazing out there. I really do like it. Shauna Morris, okay, she's crawling into the RV tomorrow. There you go. Oh, and Linda Campgoer says, "Oh, leaks when I'm filling it. It happened to me on my Toyota motorhome, but it was too easy to get to. The Ford, the fuel tank may have to be dropped." Yeah, they don't make it easy on you, do they? Oh, okay, looks like you got an answer from Shauna Morris. She's up in Prescott. Linda, Campgoer one. You can go to bed. I think we're just about to wrap it up here. It looks like things are starting to wind down. We still got 34 folks in the viewing, and that's awesome. Appreciate that. Okay, Himna. Ah, okay, thanks. Glad to have you in. He says, "Hi there, I'm in Cali and have a restored 28-foot fifth wheel RV. Been having issues with the electrical system, either running off the generator or plugged in only partial outlets work." And then he adds, "And slide out and landing gear doesn't work." Okay, the slide and the landing gear are 12 volt. The outlets are 110, and what you might have is obviously a breaker tripped, so you want to check all your breakers. It depends on the inverter you have. Some inverters have two legs, okay, so they have two sources of 110 power going out to the coach. One of the breakers on your inverter might be tripped, depending upon the breaker on the inverter. So if you look at your inverter, the thing that converts 12 volts to 110, you may find a couple of button type circuit breakers that if you push those in, that'll reset them. And you just may have a tripped circuit breaker on the outlets not working. But for your slide and your landing gear or your leveling jacks, those are 12 volt systems, completely different from your plugins. Um, so those are the two places I would look for that. It's really hard to diagnose electrical problems in the short amount of time we have here because there's a lot of going back and forth that we would have to go through. But those are the things I would look for immediately. Trip breakers. Also, there may be a wire loose, okay? And I don't know how comfortable you are working with electrical, but you can remove with everything unplugged and the batteries turned off. Make sure you have no voltage going to your inverter and your inverter's turned off. You can remove the inspection cover, the connection cover on your inverter, and just make sure all the screws in there are tight. Okay? If you're not comfortable with that, dealing with the electrical, then I would definitely take it to an RV repair shop. But if you're comfortable with that, I would just check all those connections. And then on your slide out and your landing gear, your leveling jacks, I would look at your fuses and make sure your fuses are all good. And that would be the first place I would look for problems like that where they're not working properly. Um, that's a good one too, Aaron. Yeah, Aaron mentions GFIs. If you have a GFI either in the bathroom or at the kitchen, that can cause part of your outlets to not work as well. Good point, Aaron. Thank you so much. Thank you, Reese, for coming in. I greatly appreciate having you in here with us tonight. Then I would check the actual connections. I would check the connections. I would pop all the outlets out again with the power completely turned off. Pop your outlets out because they'll be daisy chained, right? There'll be one circuit that feeds 4 or 5 or maybe more outlets in your RV, and one wire could be loose, and that would cause all of the outlets downstream to not work. So, who did the remodel? Did you remodel it yourself? But that's what I would do is I would start checking all the electrical connections, make sure they're tight, make sure the wires are there. Because remember, when an RV goes down the road, it rocks and it rattles and it shakes, and things will shake loose, and wires can come loose. They can get broken. They might be chewed through by a rodent. There's any number of things, but yeah, that's what I would start with. Is I would look and check all of my electrical connections and make sure they're all tight. Check the connections at your inverter, make sure they're all tight. Uh, Check the connections in your breaker panel, make sure they're all tight. Do this with the power turned off, period, in a conversation. Don't get yourself electrocuted. Okay, be super careful around power. There's no difference in my mind between 110. GrooveJet asks, is there any difference between 110 and 240? And there's also a frequency difference, right? In the US, we're 60 hertz. In the UK and most of the UK countries, like New Zealand, Australia, they run 240, 50 hertz. Uh, there's no difference really as far as I'm concerned. It's sixes of one, half a dozen of the other. They're both just fine systems. Thanks, John. Sure pleasure to have you in here as well. We'll see you next week, hopefully. Yeah, that's a good point too, food porn chef. Uh, there is usually a little display on your slide control box that might show you a black. There might be an LED that flashes, and there'll be a certain pattern that you could follow. There might be a little display on it that reads a code that you can go and look up and see if there's a problem with the slide controller, with your slide controller as well. That's a good point, guys. He says, okay, I replaced kitchen and bathroom and it started messing up sometime after. Yeah, I would go back and check all those connections. Make sure they're tight. Make sure they're landed properly. Make sure the screws are tight, uh, and all those sorts of things. That would be the first thing I would do. That was going to be that's your low hanging fruit. That's going to be the easiest thing to check. Um, then it gets a bit more complicated because you're going to have to use some kind of a voltage meter. You're going to have to chase some wires if there's broken wires. It can get complicated. But yeah, I would just double check all those connections and make sure everything's tight. Make sure all the wires are in the right place. It sounds like uh, you're confident enough to go do that. So yeah, make sure you got no power on. Yeah, the Linda reports, and then I know this has been a problem with some of the Fords. She wished she knew where the ABS wiring is. My light keeps going on for a while and then off. I believe there was a recall on that. You might want to check with your Ford dealer and see if there's a recall. I think there was a recall on that Ford chassis, if memory serves me correctly. Now, like, I remember a lot about folks, and I think you're on a Ford chassis. I think you had a Toyota, and now you have a Ford. But I think there might have been a recall on that that you might want to look into, Linda, as far as your ABS goes. Whiskey Bitterness. Whiskey Bitterness. I get it. Whiskey Bitterness. I love it. Would I recommend buying a 76 Dodge American Clipper? Good condition for 3K. Um, well, for 3K, you're probably not going to get hurt. But what I would recommend is that make sure the tires are good and make sure the date code on the tires. You don't want tires that are older than 6 years because you could get into, you can get into 1,000 or 2,000 bucks in tires in no time at all. So I would look at the tires real carefully and make sure they're in good shape and that they're not. And when I say good shape, check your date code and make sure they're not older than 6 years. You never want to run tires that are older than 6 years on an RV. Um, but yeah, I mean, and then I would also have a good qualified mechanic give it a good once over before I put the money out for it. And even if you have to spend a couple $100 to get your mechanic to look at it, you may be money ahead because if you get that and you go down the road somewhere and you get in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, like I did, and you blow a motor and you're out 30 grand for a motor, 3 grand isn't so good. Now, um, but yeah, I would look it over, have a mechanic check the transmission and the engine. I would check the tires. But if all those look good, 3 grand, you're not going to get hurt. I mean, what? Go for it. Okay, great. Yeah, so it's a 2000 Coachman, no blinking options for slide out. And yes, I've restored everything myself. Awesome. Yeah, I would go back and I would just start checking all my connections. Check your fuses, check for voltage at all your controllers, like on your slide out controller and stuff like that. Um, 2000, yeah, that's 21 years old. You could be getting into where the controller might have failed. Maybe the motor on the slide out has gone. Maybe the motor on the slide out is old, and you might have to replace that. Um, the landing gear, depending upon the system, as we were talking earlier, HWH is now Lippert Components, and Lippert makes really solid jack systems, and so you might be able to find spare parts there. It's really hard again for me to tell you everything that you might want to look at, but I would just start, with basics and check all the connections and make sure everything is good and tight, fuses, all that kind of stuff. And it sounds like, that'd be a good spot to go. I'm not saying anything bad about Cedar Rapids there, and I think it was a nice town. Plus, the Amana colonies. I got to go to that Renaissance Festival when I was there, and it's about 500 miles from my dad's. So when I broke down, I just left the RV at Freightliner there in Cedar Rapids, Truck Country was the name of the Freightliner dealer there, and I just came back here and stayed at my dad's for 10 days while they replaced the engine in it. Uh, Linda, she says, oh, that's a good point, Aaron. Thanks for following up on that. Yeah, check the roof and make sure it's in good condition. Whiskey business. 96 Ford Eldorado E350 and can't find an owner's manual anywhere. Have you tried the owner's forums over on IRV2? You might find somebody over there that's got one that they can send you a PDF of. And I'm assuming you've Googled for it, right, Linda? Camp Gore One, sorry. Linda, Camp Gore One's a longtime follower as well. And I happen to know her name's Linda, so I'm sorry about that if it's confusing to the others that are in the chat tonight. Group Chat says, I had a fault where 2 out of 10 LED spotlights were dead. When I touched the spot bezel, the LED, the bulb glowed dimly. Fault was next spot in line, neutral wire loose. Yeah, it could have been a ground too. In fact, that's a good point. Make sure your grounds are really good, Imna. Check your grounds, because that's another thing that can cause a lot of trouble is if your grounds are wonky. Lola Ranch says, this has been so educational. Inverter, what's that? Breaker box, what's that? How do you turn the power off to the batteries? I think I better go to RV school. Now, if you just stick around and ask questions, I'm happy to help you out. I'm going to wrap this up here shortly, folks. It's getting late. I'm getting goofy. Yeah, Himna, we have mentioned this a couple times tonight. Getting manuals and schematics can be a pain in the butt. But go to irv2.com, find the owners forums for your rig, jump in there and ask the question, anybody got this? You're probably not going to find schematics. I think we've determined that. But you probably find an owner's manual. You'd probably find that kind of stuff over on IRV2, or you'll probably find somebody that has it, or they'll tell you where to find it, or they'll mail it to you, or do that kind of stuff. There's a really good community over there. So you might check over there on irv2.com. It's a great resource for RVers, especially the owners forums. Two Feathers asks, speaking of tires, what causes the front tires to wear on the outside of each? Out of alignment or too much weight? Overinflation? There's a number of things. I would take your rig to, an alignment shop, or if it's, I'm not sure what rig you have, Two Feathers, whether it's a class A, B, or C, or a towable. But yeah, if the outside of the wheels are wearing faster than the inside, that means that the alignment isn't correct, and it means that the tires are probably towed in, as they call it, and that will cause the outside or the inside to wear improperly. But that definitely needs to have a mechanic look at it, and it probably needs to be aligned, and that should stop that problem. Also, make sure your tires are inflated properly and those sorts of things. All right, let's see if we can catch up here. Whiskey Bitness. Thanks both you and Aaron. Yeah, that's tires are a great call. I appreciate it. The roof is also pretty solid, thankfully. Yeah, good deal. Pretty new to RVing, so I know I have a lot to learn and I need to take things seriously and not think it's a toy. Uh, I do this stream every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. You can ask any question, and I'm happy to answer it for you. So I'm happy to have you along. And also check out my channel. There's lots of RV how-to videos there. Aaron has a large number of how-to videos on his channel as well. And so I invite you to run over and check out Aaron's channel as well. Yeah, thanks, Jason. I know it's we're gaining some traction. Um, yeah, I don't know what the peak concurrent was yet. I saw it 40 at one point, and a couple of weeks ago we had 50 in at one point. Okay, whiskey business, wiki business. I think he means risky business, but the handle is probably taken. But you're very welcome. Yeah, ask any question. You're good to go. Goofy. Great word it is, isn't it? You're welcome, Linda. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that I'm sorry, I should read the comment. Then we're going to wrap it up. Motors, Himna comments, motor slide out and landing gear motor is still good. I've checked it using batteries with jumper cables. They both are stuck moving in one direction, of course. Yeah, boy, yeah. I wish I had better answers for you. We're getting kind of late. Um, yeah, check out the forum over there and throw those questions up on the forum specific to your rig, and you may find all kinds of answers. In fact, I bet you will. Bob Cross says a few weeks ago you helped me out with black tanks. Thank you for your help. You're very welcome, Bob. Thank you for coming on the live stream tonight and your comment. It's greatly appreciated. Linda asks, are the tires to at the set pressure on the tire or RV? Um, check with a tire shop, Linda. They'll be able to tell you what your pressure should be because it depends on the rig and how much it weighs. There's a little bit there. Um, but yeah, rarely do you fill to the inflation pressure listed on the tire. That's the maximum. But check with a good tire shop. They can tell you what you should be running in your tires. Oh yeah, thanks Aaron for putting your channel up there. Appreciate that. Shauna Morris, I'm going to have several questions next Tuesday. I wasn't prepared. No problem, Shauna. Looking forward to hear from you next Tuesday. Good point, Aaron. Yeah, there's usually a tag somewhere. In Aaron says to Camp Gore One, the tire pressure should be inside the door as well. Yeah, on that 350 chassis, hopefully the sticker's still there, but there should be a sticker on there that says what your inflation pressure should be on your tires. That's a good point to look. Tom Downey, thanks Tom for the great question. I would say the the best new inverter, the Victron. Um, the Victron, what I like about the Victron is it's a booster as well as an inverter. And what I mean by that is let's say you're in a 30 amp spot and you have a 50 amp connection that you need, and you pull a little bit more power than the 30 amps, the Victron will supplement that power from your battery pack. So it'll help add a little extra amperage to this to your RV so you don't trip your breakers and do that kind of stuff. Plus the Victron has Bluetooth, so you can monitor it. I really like the Victrons. I like them a lot. And there's a video on my channel where we install a Victron in a buddy of mine's RV. He's got an '04 Dutch Star DSDP, as we call him, Dutch Star diesel pusher. And the Victron, they're good. Now, Xantrex makes a great inverter. Um, Magnum is not. Magnum is Xantrex now, and those are the ones that I would stick with. There's some others out there that are a little less expensive. In inverters, you get what you pay for, and you're going to pay a little bit more for the Victron, but trust me, you're going to be happy you have it when it gets down the road. Thanks, Amna. Appreciate you coming in. Let's get this thing wrapped up. You're very welcome, Mick the dog. Hope you come back next week or when you get a chance. Happy to have you in. Um, okay, let's call her good. Wow, that was an amazing 2 hours. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. If you're not subscribed, I do appreciate it if you will subscribe. Ring the notification bell. Hit that thumbs up. That's always greatly appreciated. Come back next week with your RV questions. Happy to help you out. But until we get together the next time, well, okay, just a minute. I saw one more question here from Tom, and I'll try to get you answered here. Oh, dude, you got the bomb. Tom says thanks. That's what they bought. They bought the Victron, hooked to 4 Battleborn 100 amps with the smart shunt and a 12 to 1230. Yeah, man, you got the bomb. You're set. You're good to go. You're welcome, Dorian. Good night, everybody. Until we get together the next time, peace. Bye bye. You're welcome, Shauna. Jason, that's a good point. Yeah, thanks so much. That's what I love this, okay, so we're technically done. But I love that everybody kind of just joins in and helps out. That's why I wanted to do this, was just to bring the community together and just make it so people have a safe place to go. They can ask any question. All right, I'm done. Goodbye. Peace. Now how do I shut this dang thing off?